Hello, friends. I'm trying a new format here on Gleaning and Gathering and adding in the video as well as the audio. It's been a while since I've done an update, and so here on Gleaning and Gathering, wanted to share a few of the things that are going on in our family's lives. We just took time as a family to get away and to spend a few days together in Missouri. It was amazing, and increasingly, it's very rare that all of our family is together at one time. Kaylin just turned 25, and she finished her degree at Hope Sound Bible College. She's going to be returning to teach this year in the high school at Heartland Christian School. So excited about that. She will be Esther's teacher, Samuel's teacher as well. Samuel and Esther are both there in high school, and so that's an exciting thing. Rebecca is finishing up a degree in human resource management at God's Bible School and College, and also taking classes through Indiana Wesleyan. And so she'll actually be graduating, hopefully, in May with 2 different degrees. And so she's working right now as the human resource manager or the human resource coordinator, director. Not sure what her title is. At God's Bible School and College. And then she's also working this summer at 610 Coffee Company in Salem and helping Dan Miller with Miller Builds as an office manager. So she's pretty excited about that. And then Sarah is currently contemplating working on a nursing degree. She's been dealing with some health issues, but right now we're prayerfully considering next steps for her. And one of the possibilities, at least, is that she'll be starting college this semester. So that's her current trajectory. Samuel is planning on trying to play soccer, basketball, work on his studies at Heartland, finishing his senior year. He's going to be doing some dual credit courses and getting a jump on college. And he's got a lot of good things going on, and excited about what God's got in store for him. Esther is a freshman this year, and she just finished band camp. She did an amazing job in the intermediate band. She's playing the clarinet, and she's pretty passionate about band camp. She's the only one from our family this year that went and participated in that program, but she's doing an amazing job, and just really excited about what God's doing in her life. And then Carissa, last but certainly not least, is going to be going into the 3rd grade. She just turned 9 years old, and it hit me just a few days ago when we were celebrating her 9th birthday. You know, the illustration of the church that takes 936 marbles and puts them into a jar and gives them to all of the parents when their children are born, representing 1 marble for each week in the life of their children between the age of birth and 18, that we are right now at the halfway mark. And it doesn't even seem possible, but right now, Carissa is halfway to that age of 18, and it's just amazing to see what God is doing in her life. We call her Creative Carissa, and she loves to draw. She loves to work on creative things, and she's a wonderful young lady, and we are very, very grateful for her. I came across a picture of our family in Missouri 11 years ago. We went on a trip. We were just in the process of joining Evangelistic Faith Missions at that time as missionaries, and it was kind of a trip where we would all be together. We went to see Little House on the Prairies, set up there, Laura Ingalls Wilder's home place, and we did some other fun stuff while we were there. But I remember the feeling on that trip of, we're jumping into this new adventure, this new thing, and what's ahead, what's going to happen, and just how God has worked in our family's lives over the last 11 years and how he's continued to lead us. Right now, I've continued to do the coaching and consulting business that we're doing, and we're working with leaders, primarily helping them to distill their dreams into daily actions. I don't know if you resonate with this at all, but I meet a lot of leaders that have grand hopes and dreams. They have plans for the future, but what they don't have is a system to actually execute on those dreams on a daily basis. And that was me for a long time. lots of hopes, lots of dreams. I'm a dreamer, I'm a visionary, and I can fill notebooks with all kinds of goals, visions, things that we could do. I can draw pictures of the future. But what I struggled with for years was not having a way to actually translate that XYZ big picture vision into an A, B, C, D, E, F, G kind of everyday. This is the thing that needs to be done next. And this is what we need to execute on in order to make that happen. It's an old adage, dreams don't work if you don't. And I know that everybody knows that intuitively, but there's this sense that somehow, some way, it's going to just happen. It'll all come together, when the reality is that it won't. And there are some of you right now that are stuck. You're stuck thinking, well, one of these days we're going to get to that. One of these days we're going to go on that trip as a family. One of these days we're going to really work toward that degree. One of these days. And one of these days doesn't come. And the thing that I really have been reflecting on is opportunity cost. What is it costing me? What is it costing you to do nothing? To just continue, just status quo. We're not moving in a particular direction. We're not actually making any progress towards those things. What is that costing you? I was just talking to a friend that his children right now, his oldest is 13 and his youngest is just little. And I was reminding him of the opportunity cost of doing nothing. Right now, he told me, he said, the status quo is not working. I know that. Something's got to change. And my challenge to him was, when? When is it going to change? Because what happens too often is that we have this mentality or this thinking that it's going to change sometime. It's going to change gradually. Yeah, it'll happen. But it doesn't. It doesn't unless you take meaningful action toward it. It doesn't unless there's actually a plan that you're executing on. And in order for that to happen, there have to be systems in place. There have to be things that are actually moving you. It's Newton's third law of thermodynamics. Objects at rest tend to remain at rest. Objects in motion tend to remain in motion. And so if you've got a job and you've got a situation, the tendency is, let's just continue on with this. Or if you are at rest and there's no pressure, there's no push seemingly to do anything different, you're probably not going to. But what's that costing you? What's it costing you to do nothing? Because the reality is that 10 years from now, that child that's 13 is going to be 23. They're no longer going to be in your home in the same way necessarily that they are right now. And if you haven't done those things that you want to do, the chances that you're going to be able to do that are slim to none at that point. That window's passed. That season's gone. And so I've really been talking seriously with leaders and helping them in this coaching business to be able to move forward. There are a lot of leaders that they spend more time planning a 2-week vacation than they do actually planning their life. And I'm a huge believer in life planning, and worked on a refresh of one for myself recently, and was just reminded again of how important that work is. It's hard work. It's difficult work. It's painful work. And when you begin to take stock of where you are right now and where you want to go, there's a vulnerability there. There's a sense of, man, is this all there is? Is this really what I want to be doing? And is this the way that I want it to end? I think the average life expectancy currently is between 78, 79, something like that. And people are asked, when they're asked what is old, the most common response is 85. So if old age is 85, most people never reach old age, right? if the average life expectancy is 78, 79, most people die 6 or 7 years before old age. And I'm turning 48 this week, hard to believe, but I've earned these gray hairs. I am thankful for the life that God's given me. I'm deeply grateful for the lessons that He's taught me. But as I look back, my perspective now at 48 is different than it was at 28. I was a lot more optimistic at 28 years old. I was a lot more optimistic about the world, about ministry, about life. There's just all kinds of things that are just open. And I realize now at 48, there's more runway behind me than there is in front of me. Most likely. No, I don't know exactly. None of us knew exactly. But there are a lot of things that I'm looking at in a different way. But I'm also recognizing that God has given me all kinds of experiences now that I can draw on and that I can share with others from that experience, from that perspective. And I think back to some of those early days there when we were first beginning in the park, and just the fear, the overwhelming just sense of, what's going to happen when we set up for that very first Freedom Outreach Indy and began to share in the park around picnic benches with homeless neighbors and drug addicts and anybody else who would join us. And the beautiful thing was that I didn't know what I didn't know. Someone said youth is wasted on the young, and I think it is. The reality of I was just a young 19-year-old who didn't know that it's not supposed to work this way. There's all kinds of things that could go wrong. There's all kinds of difficulties. You don't want to try this. You don't want to do this. I didn't know all that. And so I just did it. And I am grateful that I did. I am grateful that I spent my formative years working there in inner city Indianapolis with folks and digging out a church that loved God and loved people in the heart of the city. I am grateful that I spent those years working with my family doing it, that we did family ministry together, that this wasn't just something Daddy did, but this was us. And I am grateful that we spent those years in full-time ministry. It was challenging as we stepped out in faith. It was financially challenging. I came across my tax return the other day from our first year stepping out full-time in ministry. And our adjusted gross income for the year was a little less than $9,000. Now, granted, that was a few years ago, but $9,000 still wasn't a lot. And it was a challenging time. But I am incredibly grateful that we did it. I am incredibly grateful for the lessons that God taught us through that. And one of those was that God takes care of His kids. He really does. I don't look back at all with regret on spending some of the best earning years of my life investing in the kingdom and doing the work that I did. And again, I would remind my kids, look at what we get to do because we're in ministry. Look what we get to experience. Look at the things that we get to do. And this is incredible. And I look back with gratitude. Those experiences that we had starting Victory Acres Farm, it was 20 years ago this year that we had the very first planting day and that we started here at the farm. And as I look out my window here toward the prayer chapel, just looking out over the pastures and the meadows that God has worked in and provided for over these past 20 years, I just am incredibly grateful, thankful for the way that He has led our family together with people that we would have never met, gotten to experience all kinds of things, grown over 80 tons of fruits and vegetables. And as I was out hoeing the corn a day or so ago and just reminded of all of the conversations that we had over 80 different agricultural apprentices and interns coming to us from 9 different colleges and universities, coming here to study small-scale sustainable agriculture, many of them from different backgrounds. But the conversations that we had, weeding corn, picking green beans, harvesting fruits and vegetables, those relationships that were cultivated sitting around the dinner table at night, eating some of that good farm fresh food and talking about life and all that, all that was going on. It's an incredible gift, and I am so thankful. I'm so thankful for the many different long-term guests that God has sent to us coming out of prison, homelessness, addictions, a variety of different life circumstances, but being able to walk the road with them and be here and have this as a place of hospitality, a place of healing, a place of discipleship over these past 20 years. Our lives have been filled with people and with opportunities to be able to share that you can't put a price tag on any of that. You really can't. And as I look back on it, I am just thankful. I think that's the main thing. I'm thankful that we did it. I'm thankful that we pushed ahead. And there have been lots of challenges along the way, but we are less than 2 years away right now from being completely debt free and getting that farm completely paid off. All of the things that have happened along that journey, the many different people that have been part of that. It's a gift. It really is. And so I guess in thinking about your situation, where you're at right now, I know that there are challenges that you're thinking about and you're just, should I do this? Is this really what I should do? And many times there's this difficult road and then there's this road towards comfort and security, the road that quote unquote makes sense for the moment. And I know a lot about that, but I want to encourage you to not just settle, but to pursue the dreams, the aspirations that God has put in your heart, especially as a young person, especially as a young person. I believe that God has given energy and strength, vitality, especially to young people, to be able to do hard things, to push through, to do the things that nobody else thinks are capable of being done. And I also want to encourage you to partner together with those who do have wisdom, those who do have some gray hairs, who may have seen a little bit more of life, that are able to speak into the questions that you're asking and that you need to be asking in order to make those enterprises, those things that you're wanting to do, actually successful and sustainable for the long term. And so one of the tools that we've been developing is the Rooted Life Planner. And the Rooted Life Planner by Sacred Roots Ministry is a tool. Every day of the week, there is a quote from a spiritual classic, and there's an opportunity there for you to really focus in on the things that you need to be doing and write down those things. Every week, then there's a place for Sabbath reflection, and there's a place where you can think about your rule of life. What are the things that you're putting regularly into your week? Those life-giving rhythms, and what is going to be your rule of life for the quarter? Those rhythms on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis that are actually going to move you forward. I have many of those, but one of the ones that I enjoy probably the most is sitting down each Sunday afternoon and writing to my daughters who are not at home. I'm still old-fashioned like that. Take out my pen and a nice card or a nice note paper and write to them thoughts from the week, things that are on my mind, things that I want to communicate to them, and mail it off. And yes, I know I could send them a text. I could communicate in other ways, but as I do that, and as I think about them, and as I'm praying for them, and as I'm writing that out, it's helpful to me. It's helpful in terms of just processing things personally, but also in helping to cultivate that connection. And again, it's just one little thing, but it's a little thing that's done consistently. And that's the thing that I want to encourage you with is that We are shaped by the things that we do consistently, that we do on a regular basis. Read your Bible, pray every day, and you'll grow, 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 right? Well, there are other means of grace. There are other rhythms that, if you are intentional with them, are going to take you in a direction. And I want to encourage you to have a system that will help you do that systematically, not just anecdotally, not just when you remember to, but that will be there to help encourage you to put the big rocks in first, to actually invest in the accounts that as you find yourself approaching 48, 58, 68, 78, 88, wherever you're at in your journey, that you'll say, I did the things that mattered. I did the things that actually counted. I didn't just live for gravel and sand. I put the big rocks in first. Because here's the truth. If you don't do that, there's an opportunity cost to that. If you don't, there is regret. There's looking back and saying, I wish this would have been different. And relationally, there's a cost. Financially, there's a cost. Spiritually, there's a cost. One of my favorite quotes from Dallas Willard is in the front of our Rooted Life Planner, and it says, the key to living one day at a time with Jesus is planning. It usually doesn't happen by happenstance. And I think it's true. People rarely get to destinations accidentally or just kind of by wandering around. Generally, we pick a destination and we move towards it. That's the reason that we are at a destination, is that we have made purposeful progress in a direction that has taken us there. And so what are you doing to move towards those things? That's some of the work that we're doing with leaders. Again, everybody can do that on their own. I know that. People can learn how to play the piano by watching YouTube videos. I just don't know very many people who do. Most people that are good at what they're doing in a sport, in a activity, in a profession, they have a mentor, they have a guide, they have a coach, they have someone who's helping them along on that journey and holding their hand, holding them accountable, helping them think about those things. And so that's some of the work that we're doing. And for this past year, we were able to serve over 30 different leaders at Heimlich Family Coaching and Consulting, and excited about the work that we're doing with that. Of course, we're working with Heartland Christian School as well, developing the donor development program there, and excited about what God's doing at Heartland. There's some really good things happening, and I'm grateful for the life that God's given us. We shared a little family update recently, and some of you may have seen that. And if you didn't, you can check that out on our Facebook page. But we're grateful for what God's doing in our life. Just wanted to share that update with you and just share what God is doing. And if you're interested, particularly if you're a pastor or leader, we're going to be starting a small group here coming up soon. The dates are coming up. And so you can message me, let me know if you're interested in becoming part of that group and coaching ministry leaders in particular in using this tool to become more effective and to move towards the direction that God wants them to go. Because that's what's important, really. It's not just about having a better life for yourself. It's about doing the work that God has given you to do. Can you say with Jesus at the end of your life, as Jesus did, I have finished the work that you gave me to do? I want to be able to say that because he has put us here for a reason. I believe that. I believe that we have a purpose. We have a meaning, that every life has meaning. And it's not just about making money and doing our best to have as much fun as we can while we're here. No, our purpose is far deeper than that. We are made on purpose for a purpose. And part of the work that I believe that God has given us to do with the work that we're doing and working with leaders is helping them to think about that purpose and to become intentional about moving in that direction. And so if we can be helpful to you, we'd be glad to do that. Again, thank you for taking time to listen, to watch Gleaning and Gathering. And for Gleaning and Gathering, we hope that God will continue to bless your life and help you move in the direction as a leader and as a person that will bring honor and glory to Him.